Does retatrutide increase heart rate? Well, this is really interesting because if you've been on a GLP-1, you probably notice, and especially if you're somebody who is a tracking junkie like myself, I love data, I love the biometrics. You want to know, like, will it increase my heart rate? Well, the answer in this video that I've discovered is yes, it will. And I'll show you that it's dose dependent. So the higher the dose, the more your heart rate will increase, not necessarily your blood pressure. But I also found that your heart rate variability, which is a key marker when it comes to autonomic nervous system health, that actually lowers. But the good news is over time, it does seem to stabilize. So what we'll do in this video is we'll unpack why that happens, we'll unpack what you can do about it, but also I'll give you some reasons why it's a normal adaptation, especially with retatrutide because of the glucagon there. So I'm Regan Archibald, I'm the founder of Ageless Future. I make these videos because I want to help you get insights that can lead to greater levels of health. I think health is more contagious than disease. And so the healthier you are, the more health you're going to spread. So let's jump in and spread some health around retatrutide. So if you're considering starting one of these GLP-1s, you're going to see a little bit of a rise in your heart rate. And in some cases, you may not get as much REM sleep or deep sleep. This has not been quantified, but in the data, here's a study where they looked at retatrutide as a novel treatment for obesity and type 2 diabetes. This was done in 2023, and the data was analyzed internationally, but they analyzed the cardiovascular effects, including resting heart rate changes in these randomized controlled trials of retatrutide versus placebo. Heart rate, cardiac arrhythmias were monitored at various points up to 48 weeks of treatment. All these people, they had hundreds of participants with obesity and diabetes, and it was published in the Curious Journal of Medical Science. And it had randomized placebo-controlled trials, but what they found in the study is that the heart rate, retatrutide, caused a modest increase in heart rate averaging 5.6 to 7.5 beats per minute above the placebo group, with a peak elevation at about 24 weeks that started to decline afterwards. And they found that that was in the group on the highest dose, which is a crazy amount, which was 12 milligrams of retatrutide weekly. They worked up to that dose. That is the dose where people lost the most weight, had the highest reversal of diabetes and hemoglobin A1C reduction. Not anywhere near, I'd recommend anybody don't even touch that. And once again, this is not medical advice. This is me sharing some of the research and the data. Work with your doctor on these, and especially with the GLP-1s before you ever just jump on them. Because if you do have already elevated heart rate, we got to figure out why. The other thing that they found is there's no increase in cardiovascular events, even though the heart rate came up. But you do want to monitor this, and you want to figure out, why is your heart rate high in the first place? The good news is everything tapered off in the patients that were on the higher dose. I mentioned earlier it was 24 weeks, but if you're on a lower dose, like 2 milligrams a week, you may see a small rise of 3 to 5 beats per minute, but then you'll see it taper off after about 4 weeks. If you're on 4 milligrams weekly, you may see an increase of anywhere from 2 to 5 or even as high as 6. And that tapers off after about 6 to 8 weeks. And the thing about this is, why is it increasing the heart rate? Well, upon further investigation, I looked at the fact that, is it the GLP-1? Well, tirzepatide, semaglutide, these are GLP-1s, a glucagon-like peptide. What you find in semaglutide is an increase of the heart rate by about 2 to 4 beats per minute. Once again, these are the studies where people are on far higher doses than what we typically would recommend. Tirzepatide, they went up 2 to 5 beats per minute, so maybe a little more, and a slight reduction in HRV in both semaglutide and tirzepatide, whereas retatrutide was 5 beats per minute to 7, so a little more of an increase. And when you look at retatrutide, what is the difference? Well, it's GLP-1, it's a GIP, but it also has glucagon in there. And so one of the things that happens is your body starts undergoing this metabolic change when you activate this gene called PGC1 alpha that turns on mitochondrial biogenesis. You'll know that your body's going into more of a fat burning mode. And so the thermogenic effects of that can sometimes trigger more fatty oxidation. And so the increased heart rate is to keep up with the demands of that fatty acid oxidation, which is what you want. But then over time, as your body gets used to utilizing fat as an energy source, the heart rate starts to stabilize. It's almost like an engine when you're trying to get the engine to work better and you're putting a new fuel source in there or an octane booster. That first cycle, the pistons just suddenly they start performing a little different, and then they get used to it. Now everything gets aligned. The interesting thing on the HRV, if you're not tracking it, HRV shows, it's called heart rate variability. It shows your body's ability to go into high moments of stress where your heart rate gets elevated, and then how quickly does it come down. So if you exercise, one of the things you can use is like a Garmin watch or a Whoop or a Oura Ring or Apple Watch. But you can see after being at like a high intensity workload, like maybe you're doing the Norwegian 4x4 because you guys want to work on your mitochondria, you want to work on your fitness, your cardiovascular function. VO2 max is the single metric that does seem to have the most dramatic improvement on mortality risk, which is you reduce your risk by 400% by getting your VO2 max upwards of into the elite level, especially if you're down in the lower tier. So VO2 max, Norwegian 4x4 can help you get there. If you're using Retatrutide, this can activate some of that mitochondria that you need to increase your VO2 max. You also may want to consider activating your body's recovery systems with BPC 157. And then looking at the growth hormone pathway, adding in like CJC, 1295, tesamorelin, ipamorelin. You're going to see a much better improvement in your deep sleep, your recovery, your body's overall inflammation. But Retatrutide is a dramatic change in what we've ever had access to, because not only does it decrease inflammation, but one of the biggest things that we're finding it does is helps reverse a lot of this metabolic disease that keeps us stuck and actually can protect your heart in the long run. So if you're concerned about the overall health of your heart, make sure that you're getting great exercise in, you're eating the right foods. Some of you, if you have food sensitivities, food issues, you can eat really clean foods, but if you're getting bloating, acid reflux, any kind of constipation, then getting a gut test can be very helpful for you. The increased heart rate typically does decrease over time. Retatrutide is helping your body engage that metabolic system. I think it's one of the most powerful peptides and treatment strategies that is going to be on the market very soon. So if you're somebody who wants to go deeper, you want to see, is Retatrutide right for me? Go to agelessfuture.com. Meet with my team, do a free health span assessment, get your blood work ran, and let's take a look and go deeper into your health, because your health is your most important investment. The time that you spend here, I appreciate. And if you can share this with your friends, family, and loved ones, don't forget to subscribe. It helps the channel grow. I'll see you on the next video.